Okay, so hi everyone. Welcome to the second bi-weekly hangout on here. My name is Solomon Awosupin. I'm the program manager for the program from the Google end, and I'm excited to be hosting this hangout on here again. As earlier mentioned in the email, there'll be a slight twist in this week's hangout on here, as we'll be having several major guests joining us from Google and from Andela. We're just trying to get a few of our speakers on board. They have a few challenges, a few technical challenges, which we'll resolve in the next few minutes. However, I would love to pass the baton to the Andela team and to the other program assistants to quickly introduce themselves while we wait for the other speakers to join us. So over to you, Anike.
Yeah, great being back for the second bi-weekly hangout series. My name is Aneke, program manager for the ALC initiative from Andela. And I'm here with
Innocent Samadi, developer Andela.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So while we're waiting for the other speakers, can we have so we have Chioma from Google. So I want us to quickly introduce ourselves so we can get acquainted with her. So Chioma, please introduce yourself to our audience.
Hi everyone, Chioma. I do marketing management.
Hi guys, can you hear us?
The marketing team at Google.
Yes, we can.
Cool.
Hi.
So yeah, you guys.
Cool.
So I'm happy to join you all.
Awesome.
Yo, GG.
Awesome. Cool. So I'll quickly pass to Toki. Can you please introduce yourself? So we're just going around to introduce you and get the meeting started.
Sorry, I think we're probably late. I thought this was starting now. Cool. Hi everybody. I'm Toki. I'm a software engineer at Google. Yeah, and this is Zim. And he's going to introduce himself too.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, hi. I am a software engineer at Google as well. I started last year, so kind of newer than Toki.
Okay. So we didn't get your name, please.
Zim, like Z-I-M, or Zimuzo if you like the long one. But
oh, awesome. Thank you for joining, Zim. So on this call we also have Anidi. So I think Anidi will introduce himself and then we kick off the meeting quickly.
I need you seems like you're muted or something.
Yes. Okay. So I think we'll just move on.
Hi everyone, my name is Aniedi and I work as a program manager, developer ecosystem for Sub-Saharan Africa, and I sit in Lagos. I used to be a software engineer, but I found it very hard, so I just looked for another job.
Awesome. Thank you for joining, Anidi. Okay, so moving on quickly on the agenda, the next few thing is to quickly give an overview of what we hope to gain from this whole hangout on air. So I would pass back to Aneke, the PM from the Andela end, to quickly lead us through a few key learnings from the Google I/O and some key takeaways and what we hope participants look out for in the coming days. A quick one from my own end would be we're able to run into a few graduates of the same program across other regions in Europe and India and some other part of the world. And one big thing for us is that the least they were all able to take away was an extra job opportunity after, a job opportunity after the program. And most of them got tickets to attend the Google I/O conference. So it's a big one for us, and we think it's something that can extend to graduates of this program and the whole program. So I'll just pass to Anike right now to see if you can just kick on from there.
Okay, thanks, Solomon, for the opportunity. It was great actually being at I/O with the team. Anedi was there, Solomon was there, trying to see how we can connect with the community to see what to learn for the ALC program and for other programs that will be holding as Google and Andela in future. And before I even dive into say maybe some of the learnings, I would say that the team here at Andela, at Google, and quite interestingly also at Udacity, they are super happy with your progress so far, the ALC learners. So intermediate learners, the beginner learners, they are so proud of what you are doing. And we met the Udacity team, and they were like, whatever you guys are doing in the program at the moment, just keep up with that. That is working. So it shows that you guys are actually involved, committed, trying to see how you can grow as individuals in this whole software industry. So keep it up, guys. The whole thing is we are all proud of you, and we can see not just beyond what you are doing, like you have been amazing so far. So keep it up, and we will do our very best to keep supporting you in the program. Yeah, so I mentioned some of the learnings, and I will also say that we're able to meet with other teams running similar this kind of initiative in other regions. For example, in Indonesia, they are training more than 100,000 people on how to become great software engineers. And we have seen them talk about the challenges that they have had. For example, some of them struggle like internet issues, and they kind of work on textbooks to solve that. So imagine what people are suffering in other regions, and also it's not even like far-fetched on what to also suffer from our own side, but we can see that no matter what the challenge has been for different people, what we know that people are still trying to learn. So it's great connecting with people out there, and like I said, they are so proud of what you are doing. Keep up the great job, and we here too will do our very best to keep supporting you. And for the course content, you must have noticed this week about the change in the course content. You guys were working on a stock hub project, and it was changed to the baking app project. We were able to discuss with Udacity to see what went wrong, how can we quickly fix that, and they actually promised that that they will give us a bit of time, if need be, to be sure that nobody will suffer from maybe that particular challenge. So that's why you saw that we have updated your timeline. Instead of you working on some project or some course lessons this week, we made this week, well, not really kind of a free week, but no scoring this week. You guys, if you're lagging behind, use this particular week to get up to speed what you are doing, and let's see how we can go from there. But no scoring this week. Everything kicks off officially again from next week. So look at the timeline that you have, see how you can quickly adjust, and also tell your teammates about it. And to quickly round up, we got people interested about what you are doing with the ALC program, what you guys are learning, and after getting you guys opportunities by the end of the program. So right now, know that Andela has opportunities for you. Udacity have some key stuff also for you in the pipeline, and Google also. And I'm sure many more companies are out there waiting for you guys to graduate. So just keep doing what you are doing. It's been amazing. It's been awesome. And we're also looking at doing like a final mini summit at the end of the day. So be sure that we got you covered. I think that's all I can say for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Anike. So moving on quickly, a few things to mention. Please remember to put your questions on slido.com. Use the code ALC to access our question tab. So enter your questions, because we have very awesome speakers here who would be answering all of your questions. I've seen a lot of questions today. So moving on quickly, I'll pass the baton on to Toki and Zim. Okay, I'd love to pass the baton to you guys to please so tell us a bit of yourself, your journey to becoming a software engineer, just general advice to this. So just a quick overview of what we have in the program. The ALC program is targeted to virtually aspiring software developers in Africa, in Nigeria specific at the moment, and we have two major tracks running right now. We have the beginner and the intermediate track. For this call, we have our intermediate learners actively watching us live, and trying to learn from you guys, and get things that will probably propel them towards their next big gig in the nearest future. So we'd love to pass the baton over to you guys now. So please tell us, share with us your story, how you were able to get as far as you are now in your career. Thank you very much. So it seems you are muted.
Hi. Yeah, so I understand that this particular part I was scheduled to talk for about 10 minutes, right?
So I'll say for you guys, it's actually extended till about yeah. So just go on and share stuff. So you have 10 minutes each for you and Zim.
Oh, do we have 10 minutes each? Because I was hoping that Zim could do the journey to becoming a software engineer.
Okay.
And I could do the part of how to land a software engineering role at Google.
Okay, that sounds cool. That sounds cool too.
All right, cool. Nice. So Zim, over to you.
All right. So once again, my name is Zim. I just joined last November, so I'm kind of like fresh on this. Given that I don't have so much background on how much like the audience, like the learning experience, I don't have so much background on experience, but I'll just try and talk generally and probably answer questions at the end if there are any. So a little background about me. I grew up in Nigeria. I did all my education in Nigeria. I studied in UNN. I graduated in 2014. I studied mechanical engineering, which is not exactly computer science, but to be honest, it's not so. The basic skills are, I guess the same thing. For my journey exactly to becoming a software engineer, I started learning programming right after my secondary school. So that's like short gap months between finishing secondary school and getting into university. And I started learning Java at that time because, well, I didn't know any other language that existed. And I think that was actually a very helpful experience because it gave me a lot of time that I was not pressed with commitments like maybe schoolwork or financial commitments. So I basically was just exploring and learning programming just for the sake of it. I had no idea that it could be a lucrative career in the end. And for a long time I was just like a beginner programmer. You would like write for loops, write simple programs, spend hours debugging, and you face all the problems that I believe everybody here is facing at some point or faced at some point. So that was the case for a long time, and I did, in my second year-ish in university, I did what I would maybe call an internship. It was less than an internship, but it was kind of an internship then. I had like a long break, and I worked with Simfix in Nigeria. Some people may know Simfix. So I really didn't do any useful software engineering there because at that time, it was the case that my brother was, I have an elder brother who was into software engineering, and that's why I guess I got lots of motivation from. So at that time, he worked with them, and he wasn't working with them at that point, but then he had worked with them for a while. And it was the case that, his younger brother is coming over, let's see, I'm sure he's so great and, awesome. And that was not the case. I was lost. I literally couldn't do anything productive in that short internship here. But it gave me a lot of exposure, which I think was helpful, which was basically exposing me to a production environment and knowing the things that I didn't know. So I think it's actually very helpful that as early as possible, you get thrown into like the sea. And even though you don't get to be like really useful at that experience, but I think it's a useful thing to learn. It's a useful experience to learn from, even if it's not like rewarding or even if you don't feel good about it. So that's one thing I think that was helpful in my career, which was like early exposure to like a production environment. Also, some other experience in the past that was helpful. So so after that, I had like the NY, sorry, not NY, but the IT, which was like the official school internship, which happens like around 4th year. And that time I did my internship as well, not with a software engineering company, but I did it with some other company, and it turns out I wasn't doing anything useful then. So I used that opportunity to work on a personal project, which I think exposed me to a lot of interesting experiences in the end. Long and short is, I think it's very helpful to get involved in a production in an actual environment where people are actually building software tools or applications as early as possible. It's also important to have a personal project that you're actually passionate about and working on, because it gives you the opportunity to use many things that in more complicated ways than you would if you're just building toy exercises here and there. So just a random example as well. In school then, I remember I attempted the first personal project I attempted to build, which was never successful, but I think it was also a very good learning experience. I tried to build a chess engine, and that was a really difficult task. I didn't realize it then. Now I would not try to build a chess engine, but then I was just playing, and I think I learned a lot from that experience as well. So in essence, if you can, try and get into a production environment, have a personal project that you find really interesting and work on it. And the third thing I would like to mention is that as soon as possible, get above the stage where you are just trying to get your code to work and trying to get it to compile or get it to run. Try to get to the stage where you also now have to think about the efficiency of the code you're writing. So in terms of space and memory efficiency, and now start to learn algorithms. Because I think, I will have to paraphrase, but I remember someone or reading somewhere where someone said something along the lines of, you can become a great programmer by being a programmer for maybe 10 years or more, or you can become a great programmer by being a very strong algorithm student for about a year, and then you have almost the same kind, not the same kind of experience, but there is some truth in that, which is learning algorithms exposes you to a different kind of thinking, and it gets into your daily programming. Even if your daily programming doesn't necessarily involve complicated algorithms, but I think it's really helpful to, at some point in your career, start on that line. So, and there are many resources for that. There's if you want to follow a more learning approach, there's Coursera courses that teach you algorithms. There is HackerRank, tutorials. I mean, there are many. I don't want to endorse anyone in particular, but there is so many things. There's Udacity, there is Topcoder, there is Code Chef. There's so many resources out there to learn algorithms. So I think at some point when you feel you're comfortable with basic programming, get on that line and then start to improve your software engineering from there. And hopefully you would have a great career at some point. I don't know, I think I just rambled for a long time, but if there's any questions on anything in particular, I'll be happy to answer that afterwards.
Thank you very much, Zim. That's really awesome. Thanks so much. Talking in the meantime, I don't know if you would like to also say a few things about your background before we move on. I know we agreed, yes.
Yeah, I can summarize it. Let's see. This is my background. I've been writing software for a long time. I think I started when I was in secondary school, junior secondary school, really. So probably maybe in the early 90s. But back then I just wanted to make games, so I just did those for fun, because I liked it. I didn't think, the popular companies then were Microsoft, everybody knew about Bill Gates. It was a cool thing to do, but I never thought that I would be a software engineer. But over time, it just started to become more of a reality, right? So I remember in my early years of university, mobile phones and internet became quite pervasive in Nigeria. And there was this company called MTech that was starting to do VAS services, which was the first real opportunity to affect users in a really, affect a lot of users. So prior to then, you probably make software that a company used or a team of people use to do stuff. But now all of a sudden you're writing like, basically consumer applications that people were using. So I did that for a while. I still didn't want to be a software engineer. I thought I wanted to make films. So I did that. I continued my career trying to be a software engineer, but I also tried to I also went to art school, film school. So I also have a degree in computer animations, 3D animations. But somehow, when it was time to actually take full-time employment, I ended up at Yahoo. So at Yahoo, we did a lot of ads targeting stuff. We did ads targeting, and then I joined Google, and I've done several things at Google. Latest is working on the Android platform. I hope that was short and sweet. So yeah, that's my background.
Wow, cool. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Toki. So moving on quickly, we have Innocent from the Andela side. I don't know if you want to just give a brief overview on your background, to answer questions from participants, and talk a bit deeper based on what participants are actually asking, and also how they can line the software development role with companies like Google and things like that. Yes. So, Sent, would you like to say a few things?
Yeah, and also a bit of your stories. Yeah.
We're keeping this a few things. So yes, my story is quite similar to that of Toki, except not as elaborate. I found computers when I was in secondary school, and then it was about games. Grand Theft Auto, to be more particular, drew me into the world of computers. And unfortunately, then I hadn't the opportunity to have or know somebody who was officially a software engineer or a developer, to be more precise. And so it was basically me trying to figure out what the world is about, the world of software engineering. Right. After my secondary school, when I got into college, I studied computer engineering, but it was very different from what I had in mind. I thought it was going to be this awesome program where we're taking like really deep into how computers work and how to write this. Whether if you want to go into software engineering, or you're going to go as deep as possible. If you want to go hardware, you're going to go as deep as possible. Unfortunately, it wasn't that way because I schooled in Nigeria. So you know how that story goes. We got to write programs on the board, and our compilers were basically our papers. My entire time in college was spent trying to follow tutorials online, played around with VB a lot. Around my third year, fourth year, started writing applications for school projects and other colleagues for money. And at that time, I was almost convinced that this wasn't a real career path, just because there was no real person to look up to. So the kind of community we see now was very absent as at the time. All right, so coming out, I was still trying to figure out what I wanted to do because I love computers, but I wasn't going to make a living of it. So what was I going to do? I finished NYC, started vying for the bank, got into a bank, had to run away after 2 weeks because it was not the kind of place I wanted to be. I decided to take up a job as an IT director in a high school just so it would give me time on the side to do more C#, which was what I wanted to go very much into then because it was a language for games and I still had GT in mind. Very shortly after that, I met Andela. And in the year 2015, I joined Andela, and for the first time, I got to be around a community of developers. Did that change my life? Yes. Did that change my perspective of software engineering? Yes. For the first time, I began to see whole different people, how much people like me were really sought after, And when Zimuzo talked about living as fast as possible, they try and make your app compile and going as fast as possible into performance and algorithms, it's resonated with me. I saw exactly how important it was to not just be the guy who wanted to do a few things with code, but to actually be among the best. And when you talk in some circles, or when you want to reach a height in software engineering, knowledge of algorithms it's not even something you brag about because it's a prerequisite. You just have to be at a particular level, algorithmic speaking. As I said, it changes the way you write software, it changes the way you think. As much as you guys are learning basically how code works, I'm really excited about this opportunity because now you're talking to people who are in the field. Now you're talking to people who you can look and try to be like or aspire to be better than. That is a huge paradigm shift. And trust me, if you can take time to not just appreciate people like Zimuzo and Tuki talking, but also look at the fact that everyone is coming from a background of not much knowledge-wise, and you can see how much struggle we all had gone through to get to where we are. It makes it very realistic for you to look at the current program you're going through right now and see that if you continue at this in a year of guided mentorship, as Uzo put it, you would do what it took me personally over 10 years to do. All right, so that's briefly about me, struggling on my own, finding a community and growing with it. I hope that was few enough words.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you, Sent. So moving on quickly, because we are so much behind schedule, I would like to pass back to Toki and Zim. So we'd love you to share with us. So just a quick of what we have in the program. Our participants are currently enrolled on the Associate Android Fast Track program on Udacity, and they are learning to become, to write the Associate Android certification by Google. So they are working towards becoming certified Android developers on the Google certification. So just a perspective, because Zim said earlier that he would like to understand the audience he has here, which is one of the things I would like to put through right now. So moving on, we'd like you to share tips with us. What do you think our participants can probably gain at the end of the program, how they can actually learn a software engineer role, learning path, what they should look out for, your own advice resources, and what you think they should do going forward as they learn and as they pursue in their career. Over to you.
All right. Sorry, guys.
Okay. So, yeah. Thanks for the perspective now. So it's clearer who we're talking with. So for one, I would say yes, it's a very good thing that you're already like. Now I'm speaking to them directly. So it's a very good thing that you're already on a path to not just write Android apps, but write quality Android apps. And I think that's a very good thing to do, especially given that mobile apps, depending on whose opinion, but in my opinion, it's it's the future of many things. So it's really important that you're getting mobile app development skills. I honestly don't have much to say except if you have particular questions. But one thing I would like to throw in there is depending on how quickly or how comfortable you're getting with the Android platform. I think it's also so, and this is a thing for generally if you're a beginner programmer, it's always easy to think of libraries or platforms that you use as black boxes. But as a software engineer, I think it's important to grow in your career to the stage where you don't just think of these things as black boxes, but know that like this is code that someone wrote, and the source code in many cases is available. So to put things in perspective, for Android in particular, even though you're just an app developer, I think it's important to, if you have more questions or if you're confused about something or you want to just know more, it's important to take a look at the Android source code and learn more about how the Android framework works. It's really going to broaden your perspective as an Android app developer, and yeah, I think that's a strong edge you have. I think also there are lots of good videos on YouTube. I don't remember. I mean, there are lots of them, but there is this one by I think he's a like Google developer, like relations person, Mac. I could find the name and type it out later, but he does a lot of videos on performance, and yeah, so he does a lot of videos on performance, on Android app performance. And I think it's like really helpful videos to watch because it's very easy to build Android apps in the wrong way. So and like do like bad things in the app. So I think watching those kinds of videos is helpful, and there are lots of other learning resources. I just remember this one in particular because I think it's really, really helpful. But find whatever you think is helpful and, work on it. Like, as always, work on and pick a project and try to, perfect it. Like pay attention to the details, pay attention to, what happens when the app isn't like, I mean, we're Nigeria, so we don't need to think about like, it should be the first question you should ask, like how your app performs in like a poor network situation. So yeah, pay attention to detail, pay attention to performance, and keep learning using the resources available to learn. So I think that's all I have.
Wow, cool. Thanks so much, Simi. So I don't know if you want to go straight into your presentation on how to land the software engineer role at Google, and yeah, I don't know if you would love to dive into that quickly. It's okay.
All right, cool. I think maybe when we see, maybe I'll leave a lot more time for like question and answers so that I answer exactly what people kind of expect. So, for example, there's a wide range of different. Google software engineers do different things, right? And I've been at Google about almost 6 years now, and I've been at different teams working on different things. Some of those things involve like writing Python script, some of them involve writing JavaScript, some of them involve writing front-end apps, some of them back-end. Some of, I've worked on mobile, and now I work in the Android platform. Zima and I are both in the Android org, but we do slightly different things. I work in platform, and he basically uses that to build things, Google things, right? The important thing is, to just be a great engineer, right? Be a great software engineer, be a great programmer, and you'll be able to get through a lot of all of this stuff. In terms of the kind of engineers that we look for people that are very passionate about software engineering, people who really want to do this as a role. Again, we want to do this. We want people who are actually quite competent to this. And this is not to kind of throw it to make it look like a difficult task. It is that, when you come across difficult tasks, then you should be ready and willing and able to go for it. Sometimes you would have help and assistance, and sometimes you would have to figure it out, right? And there's so many resources out there in terms of online resources and even within the company to get things done. We particularly, during interviewing processes, we particularly like people who are quite skilled at things like data structures and algorithms. Sent and Zima kind of hinted on the importance of this stuff. I think it basically shows how you think about stuff. So that's really good. A typical programmer at Google, software engineer at Google, is quite good at data structures and algorithms, can write code competently. So, given a particular algorithm or understanding how to solve a problem, can you actually write the code and deal with all of the corner cases and all of this kind of stuff? Typically passionate about this because this is what you're going to do every day. Every day. You come to work every day, you sit down in front of your computer, you write code. Right? So you should you should really want to do this. Another aspect of our interviewing also has to do with like system designs, and usually it's large scale system design. So basically, how can you build scalable systems? How can you build performance systems, and so on and so forth. Typically, we do find that mobile developers are very used to kind of developing in the mobile use case, and sometimes when we kind of interview for this role, the kind of expectations we have in terms of system design is slightly different. Right? Now we're looking closer to things that have to do more with like actually building a mobile application or mobile system and probably getting it to work in a performant way. If I can use the word performant. I think that's basically the characteristics. But that said, software engineers are not the only sort of technical roles that we do have here. So because I do understand that there's going to be a wide range of abilities and interest in this kind of technical stuff. And some of you also bring other kind of skills to the table. So for example, our software engineers are really the ones that are writing code day in and day out in different languages. Some software engineers are vast in many programming languages, some just a few. It doesn't really matter as long as you're like delivering on what you need to deliver and you can learn what you need to learn to deliver on what you need to do. But we also have other technical roles quite close to the software engineering role at Google is something we call the software engineering test. And basically that is just the same thing as a software engineer. You go through the same process. The only difference is a software engineer really is sort of hired to kind of write features, right? And products. So software engineering test is more involved in engineering productivity. Can you build tools that enable the software engineers to build features to kind of like build things faster, better, more reliably, and so on and so forth. That's quite close. Other people that work closely with software engineers will also be things like release engineers. So whatever, if you work on a product, for example, you're going to have like a way in which you sort of release to like the public, the way you kind of test or experiment with certain things. Somebody really needs to be managing these release cycles and working on tools and understanding what it really takes to deliver this stuff to all of your users. We also have people we call site reliability engineers. As soon as you start to work on products that are being used by so many people and that have to do with the internet or connectivity or something, so many things can start to go wrong. And you need to keep this stuff reliable. I'm sure many of you are familiar with times when WhatsApp was down, sometimes when Twitter was down. I don't know, it's not very common these days, but back in the days, it used to be quite common to see the Twitter whale, which is basically saying Twitter is down, right? So those are the kind of things that software site reliability engineers kind of do. And what they do is they basically keep the product running. Before, in the days of just browser days where everything was in the browser and web, this would basically be the website, the person that keeps the website running. But now this, we now have mobile systems and even APIs that other systems kind of depend on. And even not just that, some people host cloud platforms. So for example, Google has Google Cloud, Amazon has Amazon EC2 and all the rest. Microsoft also has similar, and so these kind of people keep this stuff running and enable things to just keep going. Also, on the more productive side of things are people who have, who tend to have more soft skills than the programming skills. I like to call engineering managers one of these stuff, but because engineering managers have a lot of experience programming and doing things, But then more of the work has to do with actually enabling other engineers to get things done. Also very similar to the role of a product manager, where you have product managers are basically managing the product. They're sitting with engineers to get things done. They're very technical. They're quite technical too. At Google, we expect our product managers to have technical skills and some kind of computer science understanding or background. And the reason is because if you're working with engineers to deliver a product, even though you're not actually writing the product or writing the code to get things running, you need to understand what engineers are talking to you about. I don't know if any of you have experience with working with people that are sort of managing the process or managing the product or managing you, that are clueless about engineering or software engineering and what it really takes. Usually working with those people, and I've worked with a few, could be very frustrating. They don't get it, they don't understand it, they don't know where to put priorities, they don't know how to unblock you when you're totally blocked on certain other dependencies. And they don't know how to communicate with teams that you're working with or clients that you're working with to set expectations correctly. The best product managers I've worked with are people that have either had experience being software engineers or people who have taken a lot of time to really understand what software engineers really do. Also similar to that, other technical roles that also have things to do with, the other skills involved will be people at Google. We have this people we call technical account managers, and technical account managers are basically they're kind of like our large client support people, in terms of like we do have like clients or partners, so you can imagine like Disney or ESPN or something kind of work with us in our tools, and they basically keep this, clients that depend on us, their systems running. So they have issues, like technical issues or whatever. These people will basically support them and help them, help them continue to run. We also have partner technology managers, which are quite similar also to technical account managers and the kind of things that they do. These people are not writing code all the time, but when necessary, they will write code, they will write scripts, and they will also review code the partners have written. Google, we also have some people we call sales engineer, very similar also. These people are writing code, not for code that integrate with Google systems, not for Google, but for other people, for other clients. Right, so we do have people like that who call sales engineers. I think that's basically all of the different technical roles that are available here. I've probably spoken longer than I thought. But I hope that was informative, and I'll leave the rest for question and answers.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much, Toki, and thanks, Zim, also. Before we move on quickly to the questions, I want to quickly welcome the only female speaker here from the Andela end. Can you please introduce yourself, Rookie? Sorry, we can't hear you. Sorry, we can't still hear you. Okay, so I think while they are setting up, we'll just move on quickly to the question and answers, and then move back to hear from Rukayat. So there's a question. It said, what do I need to work on to become a senior Android developer? So, Toki, I don't know if you would love to take a shot at this. So the question on what do I need to work on to become a senior Android?
Solomon, I would think that question has already been answered in one form or the other. I mean, basically all the conversations that Zim has talked about and Toki has talked about, understanding, looking at the Android source code, dealing with algorithms and data structures, literally being the best at what you do, digging deep, learning to learn. I think it's a very cliche question, and but I still think that if we wanted to try and answer this question from that point of view, it's more like roundabouts. But if Toki or Zim has any other ideas around what you can really say to become a senior Android developer, in my head, I think that question has been answered though.
Oh, cool.
I just add that to be a senior Android developer, work in a lot of Android projects. That would differentiate you from a senior Android developer. You have a lot of experience working on this stuff.
No, awesome. That helps. Thanks very much. So I'll just skim through and select the very, very important questions. The Andela head, you guys said, okay.
Yeah, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Hello everyone. My name is Rukia Sadiq. Right, you just call me Ruki. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be saying, but I'll just go ahead to talk about my journey as a software developer. It's a pretty short story, really. So for me, unlike most people, my journey as a software engineer started in the classroom in my university days. I had this lecturer who would, when we started programming in our second year, it would bring his laptop to class and a projector to screen, and have us, do stuff together. It was more of a pair session, trying to debug stuff, trying to explain concepts to us while teaching us in the process. This was very different from the way programming used to be taught back then in most Nigerian universities. So that got me really interested. And the fact that I quickly saw ways to use this new thing I was learning called programming to solve some of my other schoolwork. By the way, I'm a graduate of electrical engineering, so I did lots of courses that involved calculations and all. So with time, I would quickly use write a short program to solve my other engineering problems, and it did make life easy for me. And so that was basically how my journey started. Moving on, in my time in school, we didn't have as much communal activity going on around programming within my campus. So I just had to contend with what we got from class and what I had to learn on my own. So I had to do a lot of personal learnings, and I also did one very funny thing. In my final year, I'd go back to join my younger colleagues in their lecture room to learn from what they were being taught at that point in time, because they were doing Java and we didn't do Java in my time at their level. So I was super interested, and so that was how I started out. Afterwards, after graduating from school, I decided I wanted to be a programmer full time, and so I joined Andela. My journey continued through Andela, and also participating in the community, attending meetups, meeting with people of like minds, meeting with people who through whom you can share experience, share knowledge, learn from them, attend events where things of your interest are being spoken about, and from there I began to move up the scale up until the point that I am today. Yeah, I think that's pretty much how my journey has been so far. Participating in the community, working with people, collaborative efforts, working with people, trying to learn from as much people as I can, while also working on projects. Yeah, one good way to learn is not just gathering resources and trying to learn on your own. Or rather, one good way to learn is not just gathering resources and reading them up without building stuff with it. If you don't build, how then do you know that you learned something? So you build stuff along the way as you're reading up these resources or gathering these resources. It helps reinforce what you learn, what you've learned, and helps you get better at it. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's
Thank you very much, Ruki. I think that reinforces what Toki and Zim has earlier mentioned. So I'll just rush back to the questions quickly. So there's a question. So a participant asks if there is any recommended books to becoming a world-class engineer, something around that. So I don't know if there's not a quick answer for this right now. I'm sure our speakers will be able to share links later on. That will be helpful. So I don't even want to address this quickly.
So I mean, this is just one book out of many books, but I would think in my present experience, I would say Effective Java by what? Just Block, something like that. He was one of the Android, sorry, the Java API designers. So Effective Java, if you just search the book, you'll find the author. There is not many Effective Java. So that's a very good, especially if you're in Java development or Android development. But there are many of them, and again,
cool. Thank you very much, Zim.
Yes.
So how do you balance work and life as a world-class engineer? I think this is just from I know this is sort of funny.
Please let me answer. Please let me answer. Please.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I think Zim and Tuki said one word that kept resonating, that kept recurring in almost every answer they gave, and that word is passion. Zim said it over 3 times. Tuki said it even more. If you're not passionate about software engineering, there is no way you can go beyond mediocrity. Because when it comes right down to the basics, if we're to tell the truth, it's hard. The challenges get difficult. It gets pushing. And it's not a 9-to-5 job. It's never a 9-to-5 job. It's a job that has no timeline. You're trying to solve a problem. So the problem stays at you until you solve it. That is literally it. So when Anyebe says there is no balance, I think it boils down to what you do after you solve the problem, or how you decide to channel your life around. So at the basics, yes, you're going to be solving a problem and it might eat up your life, but then it comes down to the friends around you or the things you hold as important or as priority. After solving the problem, what next? That's the question you get to answer on your own. It's not something I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all approach.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sense.
Solomon, is this call being recorded?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I can't say the answer I want to say. All right, let me check.
So it's nice to have a lead.
Okay.
I think I just
I'll go ahead. So there are a few things you can do. You have to be very practical with life to get a work-life balance. It depends also on the stage of your life you're in. I mean, if you are a bit more advanced, maybe you are married and you have kids, then that could also be a challenge. So my thoughts around this and some of the practical steps I've used is you have to cut out some things. And when you give up some things, you give it up. Give one classical example. If before you used to probably watch the Premiership, on a Saturday, you watch all 4 or 5 matches, or you go and binge watch a season. People come and ask me, have you seen House of Cards? Have you seen Suits? Have you seen Silicon Valley and the rest? You might have to just resort to watching only the highlights or reading the critics' reviews, but you can gain like 4 to 5 hours of your life every week by giving up something practical. It could be one friend who's only coming to say, let's go and have drinks. It could be that other babe you are toasting where you already have a wife or a girlfriend. You just have to give up something so that you can create a little more time, so that when your passion takes more than 9 to 5, you still have a few hours left to do what you're doing. So if you have 3 things you do with your life, like maybe your basic job, then you probably have a lot of fun, and then you do other responsible things. You may have to cut down a lot of fun so that when passion eats into the other 2, you're still able to do 3 things at the end. Very practical, but I think that's what I can share.
Okay. Thank you very much, Anidi. We are so much behind schedule, and I'd like to move on to the next question. I don't know if that is fine. So there's one question about which will make me a better engineer? Learning more languages, building more stuffs, or being a pro in algorithms and problem solving? I'd like to pass that to Toki. What do you think?
I think, again, balance is the thing here. You will know exactly what you need at whatever particular time. Knowing 10 languages is absolutely useless. I think it's absolutely useless. Having experience in 10 languages could be useful, but at different times in your life, you will use them differently. Knowing all the algorithms and data structures in the world doesn't make you doesn't deliver solutions. Okay? So it's nice to know them so you can solve increasingly complex problems. It is. And then I think the software engineers, you need to kind of recognize what your goal is. If your goal is to deliver products, then you will work more on products and just continue to deliver. And different products are going to have like different requirements. If your goal is to kind of like, break new barriers in a particular field, you might spend time working on the same problem or the same subject over and over and over and over again without the pressure of having to actually, build products that people can use. So I think, I think you're going to have a combination of all of them, depending on your goals and what you're trying to achieve at a particular time. You will focus more on one than the other.
Okay. Thank you very much, Tuki. Would anybody like to contribute anything more? I mean, any more stuff on that particular question?
Yeah, this is a third contribution. So basically, aside the dimensions you mentioned about like languages or algorithms, I think there are other dimensions which you didn't mention, but there are so many dimensions in that. So there's dimensions of, do you want to become like a great front-end developer? Do you want to have a lot of information in networking, or how sockets work? So the software engineering, I think it's useful to realize that software engineering is a broad field. Like even when you say algorithms is really, really broad. There is algorithms for different kinds of problems. There is algorithms for like biological computation. There's algorithms for like photo computation. So there's so many things to learn. And I think it's important to scope your interests and realize that at some point, you really cannot just do everything. So like personally, I find machine learning interesting. I know very little about it. I mean, I know enough to have an idea of what's going on, but I'm not by any means a machine learning practitioner or whatever. So at some point, you need to scope your interests, and important that whatever you're working on, when you're working on something, you try to focus on that thing and have depth in it. And then the next year, you may have to be working on something else, like Toki mentioned. He was working on an app at some point. At some point, he was working on like entirely different things, like backend systems. Now he's working on framework. So it's important that for whatever you're working on, have depth in it. If you have other interests, you try to and indulge them the same way you would try to watch movies, or and just cannot watch all the movies you want to watch. So I think it's important to scope your interests and have depth in something rather than having just like breadth and knowing so many languages or knowing so many algorithms, or
Wow, thank you very much, Sam. I think that was helpful. To rush quickly to the questions, we have one major question on so this particular participant, Kenny, is saying, in the face of the new Android language Kotlin, what's your advice to an Android developer who has already gone halfway or just started off with Java? I think it's a very interesting question.
Let me just start with this, and every other person can add anything. Continue with your Java, man. I think the important thing is that you can build an Android app and you can release it. Your manager comes to you and says, you need to build a product in Kotlin, then you go learn Kotlin. Otherwise, just learn your stuff, right? Being half-baked in anything doesn't work very well, right? Your time has not been wasted. Just continue doing that. I personally don't know Kotlin. I've seen it. Like, my manager is coming to us, and you guys heard the latest IO announcement, which means that we're going to support Kotlin. And I work on the platform, which means we're going to have to support Kotlin, make sure everything works. But I personally, at the moment, don't have any intention in programming in Kotlin. I will continue to do my stuff in Java. We'll probably continue to write the framework in Java, to be honest, for a while. But like, I do think like there's a lot of buzz around Kotlin. It would be very interesting to look at, and I, I probably also want to have, just kind of play around with it and see what it is. If you're on a Java team, continue with your Java stuff. Learn Kotlin if you have time. If you're on a Kotlin team, then you don't have any choice than to learn Kotlin. It's probably great for developing Android stuff. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Anyone else would like to say anything about this? This clash of Kotlin and Java programming?
It's not a clash. It's just tools to build your stuff. All right. You're learning. The funny thing, if you're in your learning phase, learn what will help you to start to be productive. Right. If you're new, you might want to learn Kotlin. If you've already been building stuff in Android, then continue. And if there's no pressure on you to actually deliver anything, then you can learn both.
Yeah. So I think if we went on with that debate, it will last forever. And I think Toki's, I mean, I totally support your position. I'm 100% on your side. You know, all this new girl in town kind of thing, people should take it easy around that. There are still some bank ATMs in Nigeria running on Windows XP. Just put that in context. But anyway, you shouldn't be too quick to adopt, and there's no point not. Stay abreast of what's going on. Like you said, try it out. If you get the luck or the bad luck of having to use Kotlin on your next project, go learn it. That's it. I think one thing I like to say here, and I think because people might have to jump out, it's already past the hour. Everyone says, how do you get a job at Google? How do you get an internship at Google? Unless you're very lucky, like me, I think the best thing to do is to apply. I mean, that's usually the first step. A lot of people actually dream of working at Google or hope they work at Google or get an internship, and they never just go through careers.google.com and then apply or make sure your CV is in there. So you need to get noticed. The easiest way to get noticed is actually to apply on the Google website, and then all the other things can come to play. Like if you have an active LinkedIn profile, you're active on GitHub, and sometimes when the recruiters are searching for you, then you can turn up, right? Being also in the community helps. But I think the one most important step which helps is to apply. And I answered this question like 100 times. And how do I get a job at Google? How do I get an internship at Google? And then if I ask, do you have a profile on careers.google.com? No, not yet. I just wanted to know how to get a job. Like, dude, just go and apply first, right? Or fill out your application. And if there's no immediate job, just be there. Let it be that your name is searchable when internal searches and then external searches are done. I don't know if anyone has something to add there.
Okay, I think I quickly mention something that is basic, but I've seen it work many times. I think a lot of devs don't like updating their LinkedIn profiles. So let's see if you can start updating even your LinkedIn profiles, even to your Git account and all that. I think that will really help. But I noticed a lot of them ignore those basic things and just focus on just coding alone. I think that was
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, last year, I think Toki and I were put on some panel with the Black Top Talent thing where they scouted like 20 or 25 guys from Nigerian universities and asked us to sort of talk to them about our time at Google and our experience working at Google. And I was completely surprised where they got the 25 names from. And I had to ask the recruiter, like, how did you find this person in Akure, this person in Jos, this person in Ife? And they literally went through their LinkedIn profiles of students who had GitHub profiles, who were on LinkedIn, who put Android developer in their name, and the search picked them up. So you better fake it till you make it, dude.
Awesome.
Augustin, over to you.
Okay. Innocent Amadi here, one of the speakers, he just jumped out for another meeting. He was like, if you can excuse him, that's why he left the call. So.
Awesome. Okay, cool. I think that answers several questions that we have here in the question area. I think there's just one more I wanted us to touch on before we say goodbye. And participants can keep sending in your questions. If they are not answered right now, we'll try to forward them to the speakers after this call and see if they can answer some of them and send the answers to you via the Slack channel or via our regular email comms. So there's a quick one about security of Android application. So what are the exploit point of Android applications? Like when we talk about security of Android application, what are the major point of focus when talking about Android and security?
I don't know. I'm not a security expert. Sorry.
Okay. Sorry, guys.
I'll just add that as long as you follow the guidelines and you're probably not building something for, like, I don't know, something for the president, I don't know, something that requires like state secrets to be kept. As long as you follow general guidelines, you're probably fine. And you have other things to worry about, like your communication between your Android app and your web server. The smart thing I use, like HTTPS, and like just follow the basic guidelines. As long as you're not doing something really that requires a lot of, high-level security, the Android platform people who know about security have got your back.
Okay, so I'll take this one as the last question. Thank you very much, Zane. So I'll take this particular one as the last question. It's not so much of a technical question. It's more personal. It says, have you had downtimes in your career where you didn't feel you were moving at the pace you wanted to? How do you deal with them? So I guess persons are actually having challenges, and I feel it may apply to a few of the other learners. I think you can also combine answering this question with how they can manage their time, and also I think Anidi has been able to address the question in a way, but providing a bit more tips would help. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, so I would just share a personal experience, which is that one, downtimes will always come at some point. Like it may be relative to different people have. It could be personal downtimes, even not necessarily related to career. So we all have to deal with this as human beings. I think it's important to always have focus on what you really want to do. So my own personal experience is the first time I applied for a software engineering role at Google, I was rejected. So I felt really bad, you really want to work at this great company and then you get rejected. But after, much thought and getting over my tears, I figured that, just being focused on the things that really mattered, improving your skills as a software engineer. And that's also important to have a work-life balance, even though it's hard to, but it's important to have something else that you actually enjoy doing outside of work, so that when you are frustrated with your career, you can always have that something else that you find you derive some pleasure in. So if it's that you have a partner, or you have like watching movies, whatever it is that you like to do, have some time to do them so that you can deal with downtimes in career, your life, whatever else it is.
Okay, thank you very much. So while we're going to round up by 5:15, we'd just like to hear final words from all of our speakers. So I would want to start with Rukayat from the Andela. Ruki,
yeah,
over to you.
I'm not sure I got what you said.
Okay, so like your final words, general advice to our learners, maybe a general your own perspective on some of the questions they've actually asked earlier on and all of that.
Okay, I have two things to say. One is about speaking on so many languages, and the other would be about downtimes. About taking on so many languages, what we need to understand is languages are just tools to solving problems. So don't be stubborn in I need to learn Java and JavaScript and Ruby and Python and so and so on, because I want to be the world's greatest developer. These different languages have a different purpose depending on what kind of problem you want to solve. So try to understand what problem, try to know, first identify what problem you want to solve, and then find the best tools amongst these programming languages that will help solve this problem, rather than trying to pick this language today, pick that language tomorrow. Just pick a language when you think you need to use it to solve a problem, and it's the best tool to solving a problem. Also, for the person who is bothered about Kotlin, Java, if I had gone so far in learning Java and now Android is adopting Kotlin, I think at the last I/O, at the just completed I/O, although it was announced that Kotlin is being embraced in the Android development, they had also mentioned that they'll keep giving support to Java for as a language for Android development. So I do not think it's anything to bother about. And lastly, how do you manage downtimes and all? Yeah, like Zim said, there will always be downtimes in whatever it is you're doing. So for me, the way I manage this is I just said there are reasons. I always have a reason for wanting to do something, such that when the chips are down or when I feel demotivated, I ask myself, why exactly am I trying to do this thing? And that reason, that thing I'm trying to solve, the problem I'm trying to solve, or the goal I'm trying to achieve would be a way to motivate me to keep going on. Why am I a programmer? Why am I a software engineer? I want to be able to solve problems in so and so field. I want to be able to impact people's lives in this field. Have I gotten there? No. Yeah, I need to keep putting in more effort. So as much as I have downtimes and all, looking at the end goal, looking at the prize, the so-called prize that I've created for myself at the end, or what seemingly is the end, although there's really no end, looking at that thing I set for myself at the end would keep motivating me to want to keep going. And so I think people should try as much as possible to embrace that too. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you very much, Ruki. It was nice having you here. So back to Toki and Zim. You're sorry for taking so much of your time. So your last words, and we can end this call.
Yeah, I think I've said everything I wanted to say previously. So I would say, like, life isn't like we make life complicated for ourselves. We set goals, we have ambitions. All these things are great, but like, have fun, have a smile. Those things are more important most of the time. You would have like many ambitions. I have many ambitions myself, so I can have more ambitions and make myself even unhappy. But at some point, we just should like try to be happy. Like, I guess it's a very big, fluffy kind of advice, but try to interpret it yourself.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Okay, any last words you'd like to?
Yeah, sure. I just say build cool things, keep learning, build cool things, solve problems.
Thank you very much. Chimdi, I'll pass back to you to give like a vote of thanks to all our speakers. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks everyone for attending today. Maybe before I quickly maybe go to the closing remarks, Innocent just joined back, and it's interesting to see that he's talking about what we are doing and went to another meeting. So then, guys, I have another meeting that's very important to help people across Nigeria to get better. I need to jump out again. So, Innocent, maybe your final words to the learners before I quickly do the closing remarks.
I think I came in time to make Zim's speech. I will just re-echo what he said. Yes, it's nice to have like great goals, but the only thing we do have is our presence, right? Is our moments. We would love to go to the moon, but the times we can have on Earth, the time we can have as normal people, those little moments of not much importance with respect to our goals, but just ordinary times we spend with friends, we spend with family, we spend with people. Those times are the times we look back and cherish. So regardless of whether the code runs, regardless of the worries of what happens after the program, just take time out to lean back and look back in retrospect, see how far you've come and appreciate where you are. Right? It's those appreciations of your little wins that will see you through the big challenges. I think that's what I have to say.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Innocent, for that. Wow. I really want to thank everyone for today's session. Thank you, Zim. Even though we are connected from different worlds, even in still one world. Thank you, Toki, for the time too. Rookie, thanks. Innocent, Oganyedi, Chioma, CJ, David, Chizoba, Awesome Solomon, And thank you all for attending this session. It's a bi-weekly one, so we expect to host another one in 2 weeks' time for the ALC participants. And we are super sure that they're enjoying what we are sharing, the encouragement, the inspiration. I think it's been awesome so far. So we want to appreciate you, your time for joining today. And also to our awesome ALC participants and other viewers out there, we thank you for the time you're committing to this great opportunity to become the best in what you are doing. Thank you for the time, and we hope to see you more on our Slack communities and also in the next bi-weekly hangout. Thank you all for joining today. I think I'll just take it back to Solomon to maybe give us the final before we jump out. Thank you.
So thank you very much, everyone. Thanks, Toki, and thanks everybody for joining today's call. On this note, I'll say we have a very lovely weekend and see you in the next 2 weeks. Bye for now.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good weekend. And then good to see you again.
Bye, guys. Bye.
Yeah.